Great pleasure to introduce a man who's been a church member since 1972, before many of you were born. From 1993 to 1998, he and his dear friend Reuben Roman, let's say it right, wrote, printed, and distributed a zine some of you may remember called The Raven. A longtime resident of Connecticut, he now calls hell on the Hudson his home. I'm pleased to present Magister Neil Smith.
Wow. Even white boys got to shout. Welcome. I was going to start it with a joke, but I do want to say thank you, Josephine, for the fight, the power, the love of life, and refusing to cave in, refusing to let it get you down. That embodies what we all want to have in our life. Anyway. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the grand celebration of 50 years of our church. And to think we're all here to be able to share in the glory of this event. This has only happened once in history, and guess what? We're all here. On the banks of the Hudson River, the new Styx River. We're at Hades on the Hudson, the center of Satanism. You probably remember, maybe you don't, you might not have been around. For a while, the church took on a low profile, and to a certain degree, kind of maintains that. I remember going to the John Waters one-man show at the Bardavon a couple of years ago, and he was talking about ways that he wanted to outrage people who celebrate Christmas. And one of the things he said was, I'd love to see a choir in red robes singing hymns by the Church of Satan. And then he said, are they still around? And you know, the detractors always claim that the Church of Satan is dead, or that we aren't doing anything. But recently, in clear contrast to what other nominally satanic wannabes have been doing, like planning black masses that never happen, or making ugly statues, our church has stepped forward with a soaring event like the art exhibit, The Devil's Reign, organized and curated by Megas Gilmore, that had a very successful run in Florida and in New York, and opens next week in Boston. Be there or be square. What an elegant way to say, yeah, we're still around, and here's what we do. So, but you know what, it's not by chance that we gather here to mark this anniversary, but through the continuous and brave efforts of our founder, those key individuals who inspired him and his writings, those cohorts of the early days who provided the forum in which Dr. LeVay formulated and developed his philosophy, and to those who were fortunate enough to be his close associates, Magister Blanche Barton, Ruth Waits, our high priest and high priestess. If there's anyone else I've forgotten to mention, I'm an old guy, sorry. But we can be here now and celebrate 50 years, primarily through the continuing daily efforts. You see those two horns on the top of the Baphomet, the upward thrusting affirmation of the duality? You know what they are? They are our high priest and high priestess. They have guided this dark ship through rough, uncharted waters that constantly and still rage against our sides. They guided us through storms that nearly tore our sails off. They guided us through the fell clutch of circumstance, through Scylla and Charybdis themselves. So when you make the sign of the horns, guess what? You'll know who those two horns are. You know what? We ask children all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah, you know, you get to a point in life when you look around, you look back on the road you've traveled, and you think about what you've learned, who you've known, what you've experienced. And you get to my place, and you say, what do I want to be when I grow old? When I was 22, 1972, that was a very good year. Hey, that would make a good song. I had just gotten a language school training in Monterey, and I was, for the first time, actually living on my own. I graduated college, went through basic training, and it was a great time of personal development. I made a lot of personal realizations and breakthroughs. I developed a lot of social and emotional relationships, and I even fell in love once. Once. I wasn't always cynical. Anyway, I had read the Satanic Bible when it came out during my junior year in college, and I realized, well before that point, that religion was just garbage. But that book, and we've all had that experience, you read the book and you're like, yeah, that's it. That book gave me a name. Now I was seeing items in newspapers and occult magazines about the Church of Satan and Dr. LaVey. Well, that's when I joined. And I started getting the cloven hoof in the mailroom at my barracks, and that raised a couple of eyebrows. You know what? I had been able to make weekend trips every so often to San Francisco, every other month or so. One time I talked a buddy of mine into driving down California Street and stopping across from number 6114. And he did stop. And I'm like, okay, now what? So you know what? I did not get out. I didn't go up the stairs because I knew about that little plaque on the front of the house that said, do not ring this bell unless you have an appointment. I also knew how important it was to respect other people's privacy. And I figured, what am I going to say? Oh, hi, I just joined the church, and I just wanted to stop by, and yeah, okay, thanks. So, you know, what was the worst that could happen? I say, oh, okay, that's nice, have a nice day, slam the door in my face. Or get Togar to come out and escort me to the front gate. Anyway, that, my friends, though, I'll tell you what, I'm going to come clean. That is my one regret, that I never actually met Dr. LaVey. To this day, I regret that. Well, there were the platform shoes, too, but that was 1974. What did I know, you know? Anyway, I've been in the church a long time because its philosophy never failed me. I've never found any inconsistency or any holes in it. It's never failed me because its philosophy is consistent with my nature, with human nature. I never outgrown it because I never bought into any occult nonsense, and neither does my church. I've never been one who sought advancement, particularly the esoteric type, because it's superstitious baloney. Some have come, left us, some have gone, and probably more will because they'll find out they can't aspire to become a 98.6 degree grand high exalted mystic poobah. Or maybe even an adeptus major of the hermetic seal and pilot of the astral plane. You know what? It ain't gonna happen here. Those who are prone to fall are gonna fall. Give them enough rope and they'll hang themselves. Or they might make you a nice little macrame plant hanger. One theologian that you study in divinity school is Martin Buber. And I thought he was kind of interesting because he brought up the I and thou model of addressing the fundamental questions of existence. I don't know if I ever shared this, but I went through Yale Divinity School. I did, yep. I went right in the front door on Prospect Street, through the courtyard, out through the library, and I ended up somewhere on St. Ronan Street. But, but actually there was a person there I used to meet every so often for theological discussion. Okay? Well, what else would you think? You're in the dormitory, and all you hear from the room next door is, "Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God." Theology, of course. Oh. But I digress. Anyway, in I and Thou, Martin Buber talks about all of the fundamental questions of existence boil down to relationships and building on relationships. And ultimately, they all boil down to the human relationship with God. A big pyramid scheme, you know. But you know what? When you really look at it, what's happening? It's a monologue. You're talking to yourself. Speaking of being our own gods, and I hope I'm not running too long on time, I want to recognize and congratulate those of you who have recently become active members, those who've been promoted to witch or warlock status, and particularly those of you who've been elevated to the position of priest or priestess. It's a distinct honor for me to be in your presence, a very select group. You've been recognized by our church as an outstanding example of Satanism applied. You've jumped off the porch and you've proven you can run with the big dogs. But remember, the bar has been raised. With the honor of recognition comes a deeper responsibility to continue on the path you've paved. Keep following and reflecting the beacon of the black flame and to help nurture it in others. Your head will be bloody, but it'll be unbowed. In conclusion, I'll shut up in a second. A long time ago, somebody gave me a really, really good piece of advice that I took to heart, and I live by it to this very, very day. Don't do drag. You make a really ugly woman. So I said. I live by that. I live by that. And there are experts here, believe me, who would confirm that. Let me just pass along a couple of real quick guidelines that I've learned, and they might be guidelines maybe for life, maybe for the grocery store. Don't panic. Never let them see you sweat. Keep everything in balance. Keep your goals in sight. Be the you that you want to be. That's what Satanism's about. Enjoy your life. Jack London wrote, "The function of man is to live, not to exist." And at this advanced age, I'm looking back and I'm saying, you know what? I shall not waste my days trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. Life is the great indulgence. You have to embrace that and really live that. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. Savor this day. Savor this time. Savor this life. Carpe diem. Carpe noctem. Hail Satan.
All right. Ahem.